When I was 20, I worked as a maid for an older woman for a few weeks. She lived in a large yet very old house on a property that could have been beautiful if it had been maintained better. She took good care of it though, with 2 acres of land surrounded by woods on 3 sides and a road on the other. The house itself was ancient, mostly made of wood, and the interior was extremely dark. The woman, Mel, was in her 70s, and the house always felt gloomy. She often kept the blinds shut in some rooms for reasons I couldn't understand. Occasionally, I would open them to let some sunlight in, but by the next time I entered the room, she had already shut them again. In some rooms, she preferred to light candles, which only made the house feel even older and more eerie. To make things worse, the wooden floors creaked loudly with every step, which added to the unsettling atmosphere of the house. Mel would often ask me to do physical tasks she couldn't manage anymore, like sweeping, dusting, cleaning dishes, doing laundry, and sorting through her mail. One weekend, she asked if I would stay overnight for a night or two, as she lived alone in the large house. It had 4 bedrooms, so it wasn't an issue. I agreed, and on Friday, I arrived to work, barely exchanging words with Mel. I dropped off my bag with my clothes and toiletries in the bedroom I would be sleeping in. As I turned to leave the room, I noticed Mel standing at the doorway, which made me uneasy. Without saying hello, she simply told me to clean the bedroom right away. Afterward, she instructed me to straighten up the entire house, and then she went upstairs. I didn't see her again for the rest of the day, though I would occasionally hear her walking around upstairs in her room. It was strange because there were no TVs in the house, so I had no idea what she could have been doing. One of the most bizarre things about the house was how protective Mel was of her basement. She made it very clear that the basement was completely off limits, and she didn't want me going down there. That night, I went to bed early, as there were no smartphones or distractions, so I had no idea what time it was. I suspect it was around 9 or 10 p.m. For the first few hours, everything was peaceful, but I still had trouble falling asleep because the bed was extremely uncomfortable. Hours later, I began hearing footsteps outside my room on the creaky wooden floor. I initially thought Mel might be walking past my room, maybe on her way to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I heard the footsteps again, but this time they stopped right outside my door. I sat up, straining to listen. I could hear the faint sound of creaking, like Mel was standing outside my door. It was becoming creepy, and I started to feel uneasy. Finally, the footsteps moved away, and I heard them go downstairs. Afterward, I heard a door open and close from downstairs, and I had a strong feeling it was the basement door. After some time, I heard the door open and close again, followed by heavy, slow footsteps coming up the stairs. The footsteps stopped again right outside my door. Once more, I sat up to listen, hearing the sound of someone applying pressure to the floor, as if standing just outside my room. Then, I heard the doorknob start to turn. I quickly laid back down, pulling the sheets over me, pretending to be asleep. I heard Mel take a few steps into the room before pausing, and then she turned and left. I heard her go back to her room, and she shut the door behind her. I was disturbed by her strange behavior, and after about half an hour, I decided I had to find out what was in that basement. I quietly got out of the rickety bed, tiptoed to the door, and then crept down the stairs as quietly as I could. When I reached the basement door, I hesitated for a moment before opening it. I turned on the basement lights and slowly descended the stairs. When I reached the bottom step, my stomach churned. In the center of the basement, there were 2 old wooden chairs, and sitting in them were what I can only describe as decaying corpses with wigs on them. One of them even had a bug crawling on it, which made me feel even more nauseous. I managed to walk closer to the bodies, feeling a sense of dread with each step. I had to make sure they were real. Both corpses wore men's wigs, and the larger one also had a beret on. I'm no expert on corpses or their rate of decay, but I could tell these bodies had been dead for nearly a year. My heart stopped when I suddenly heard footsteps coming from upstairs. I had no time to react. I hid behind one of the couches in the basement, holding my breath as the footsteps grew louder and closer. I heard them coming down the basement stairs, one step at a time, slowly and deliberately. I could feel the weight of the silence as the footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs, and then I heard Mel whisper my name. For a split second, I peeked around the couch and saw Mel halfway across the basement, holding a large kitchen knife. I knew I had to get out of there fast. I bolted for the stairs and ran up them as quickly as I could, hearing Mel scream my name as she followed me. When I reached the first floor of the house, I didn't hesitate. I ran straight to the bedroom where I had been sleeping, grabbed my backpack, and ran back downstairs. By the time I reached the stairs, I heard Mel at the top of them. I didn't look back as I ran out the front door and sprinted to my car. I started the engine, took a moment to catch my breath, and looked at the front door of the old house. Mel was standing there watching me. I drove off the property and down the road, my heart pounding in my chest. I made it home within 10 minutes, and fortunately, I had never given Mel my address or phone number, so she was never able to contact me again. If I had to guess, one of those corpses belonged to Mel's late husband, the one she had mentioned to me a couple of times. As for the smaller body, I have no idea who it was. Regardless, seeing those decaying corpses was an experience I'll never forget, and it made me realize just how off and disturbing Mel truly was.